Hey there, I'm Franklin Taggart. In just a minute, I'm going to introduce you to Craig Cannings of Freelance University. If you're someone who is re-entering the job market, and especially if you're over 50, you'll want to hear about the Freelance After 50 Summit that's coming up on April 15th through 17th. This is the perfect event to get your questions answered about joining the freelance world, find inspiration and insight from people who are already successful freelancers, and you'll be introduced to the community and resources offered by Freelance University. They've been around for a long time, and they've become one of the most highly regarded resources for freelancer careers of all kinds. If you want to pause the video now and go to the Summit information page, there's a handy affiliate link in the description. After you've enrolled, come on back and watch this fine conversation with Freelance University founder Craig Cannings. Thanks for tuning in. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the virtual coffee break. I'm Franklin Taggart, and I have my coffee and I have my guest, Craig Cannings, who some of you will remember I interviewed on Your Own Best Company. Gosh, it's been 2 or 3 years ago. Was that at the height of the pandemic, Craig? Do you remember?
I think it was like 2021. You and I were right in the throes of the pandemic, I believe.
Yeah, it was. The time flies, right?
We had nothing better to do than do podcast interviews.
I did a lot of them back then. It's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah.
But Craig Cannings, for those of you who don't know, is the founder and chief bottle washer and executive of Freelance U. And he and his wife, Kelly, started Freelance U how many years ago?
16. It's taken a few iterations. We rebranded in 2018, but it's been since 2008 was our very first course to freelancers.
Wow. Freelance University is an amazing resource that if you are a freelancer of any style, shape, or form, you will benefit from knowing these folks and from seeing what they offer. But I wanted to talk a little bit about something. I was just kind of minding my own business on my YouTube channel a little while back, and all of a sudden I saw a familiar face with a different name. And there was Craig, and his new channel was called Freelance After 50, and it immediately caught my attention. Craig, can you tell us a little bit about what the inspiration was for that channel and the things that have grown out of it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's been pretty amazing as we've focused on what I believe is one of the most fastest growing demographics for freelancers, which is the over 50 crowd. All of you some of you that are tuning into this fall into that category. But it's interesting. We did some surveys of our audience a couple of years ago, and we often didn't track demographics. We really didn't know how old or how young people were. And we finally did it, and we realized about over three quarters of our audience were over 50. And then we tracked, what members tended to stay the longest with us. And it wasn't even a contest. Almost all of them were people that were like us, over 50, really committed to learning. They tended to want to really roll their business out, even slowly over a period of time. And so they were the best customers for us. And so that was sort of the initial thought to creating Freelance After 50, because we feel like there was a market, that it was an audience we were serving already. And then it was interesting. Upwork came out with a statistic. This is going back 3 or 4 years ago, and it cited that 34% of all freelancers worldwide were over 50. That's a significant chunk. And I recognize that there wasn't a lot of education bodies like us that were serving that audience, that specifically were speaking to the issues and the challenges that they face as they come out of corporate or as they pivot to a second act career. And so it seemed like an open opportunity that for us to dive in. And since then, we released our Freelance After 50 newsletter that has built quite a large following. We rolled out our YouTube channel, and now we're releasing our very first Freelance After 50 virtual summit.
If you were talking to somebody who was over 50, where would you start in helping them to decide what freelance direction to go in?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think first of all, you obviously have to look at what's happening in our world today. And I think, some of the reasons that people are freelancing is different than even 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. There was this this trend going about that people wanted to experience the laptop lifestyle. And that probably came out 5, 10 years ago. They'd have videos of somebody working on the beach, and you can be just like me, working wherever you want in the world with a good internet connection. And so initially that's where a lot of people were coming from. They're like, I want a flexible life that I can work, travel, work with the clients I love. And then the pandemic hits, and then we have this sort of economic climate we're in. And now we're seeing people coming, and it's not just about the flexibility. They're now saying, I need a financial opportunity. Like I need to either start a side hustle to supplement my existing income just to make it through this inflation, or I need to just build a full-fledged freelance business because I feel maybe it'll be more lucrative than the day job that I currently have. And so we've seen almost a shift in people's mindset that not everybody, but it's not just about flexibility anymore. It's about, I really need this. I need a financial opportunity. And that's why I think, platforms like ours have become more relevant, because we sort of provide this roadmap, for those that are saying, I need this and I need to know how to get started. And so to answer your question, what are some of the first things that people need to do? I think the biggest thing is your mindset. When you have worked as an employee for years, and some of you listening in may still be an employee, there's this, somewhat awkward shift from an employee mindset to an entrepreneurial one that I found awkward. It wasn't seamless for me, where I had to go from recognizing that I'm, no longer working in a job, but I'm running a business. A freelancer is an entrepreneur. It's a synonymous. And so you have to eventually make that shift. And you almost have to rewrite your job description. So you may be used to having a job description at whatever vocation you had in the past, but as an entrepreneur, let's say you're a freelance writer, or you're a podcast producer, or you do YouTube videos for clients, you need to recreate your job description, that is designed for you. And that kind of gives you, allows you to make that mental shift to this new body of work that you're doing. And so mindset is stop number one. And I think the other thing people don't recognize when they shift to the entrepreneurial world is that there are some limiting self-beliefs that we often hold and may not even recognize until we're in the vulnerable space of running our own business, such as, having an imposter syndrome. We're into this new realm, this new work that offers freedom and flexibility, but you're feeling vulnerable. You're feeling like, am I really even cut out for this? Can I even do this? And so the mind game is huge, and it often can either set you on the right path, or it can kind of stop you from even getting started in the freelance realm.
What are some of the common surprises that people have waiting for them when they enter into the freelance world?
Well, it's a really, really good question. And I think one of them is that we just talked about mindset. I didn't realize that mindset mattered so much, that, that I'm struggling with, whether it's perfectionism or self-doubt or imposter syndrome. And so recognizing that, Carol Dweck, the Stanford professor, wrote the book on mindset, and she talked about having a growth mindset where you're somebody that's confident, you're willing to make mistakes, you're willing to push through barriers when it gets hard. And those are the things you have to develop as you become an entrepreneur or freelancer. And so those are things we don't recognize until we get into it. I would think also, this idea of build it and they will come. If I create my Upwork profile, then I should get clients. Or if I create my LinkedIn profile, my website, then suddenly, my business should grow. And the thought that clients would just come to me and that this would be easier sometimes is a myth that people have to work through, that they've got to proactively be out there and networking and connecting with people in order to build their business. I think other things like, there was more admin work than I expected. That it's, you've got, you're invoicing clients, there's email exchanges with prospective clients. So you're doing a lot of work that even you're not getting paid for. And so you've almost got to get intentional about blocking that time throughout the week, that these are my admin blocks. And then the last one I thought of was about community, that community matters, that when you're a freelancer, you're also what we call a solopreneur. But a solopreneur doesn't function well without people around them supporting them. And so
Yeah.
that's what we found with our university is that people often would come for the courses, but they would stay for that community experience where they're like, I'm with other people that are just like me, just getting started, and I feel sort of a camaraderie with them. Even during COVID, one of our students said, this community was like a light in the storm for me.
Yeah.
Every time I would go and I'd turn on the news, it was bad. It was bad news. It wasn't good. It was bleak. And then I'd come into this group and it'd be like, hey, I just landed a client today, or hey, I just got this certification. And you had these motivated people that were slowly building great businesses in the midst of this crazy pandemic. And so I think for those of you that are considering starting out, you need to build a community around you. It just makes it much easier. It makes the journey much easier than otherwise.
Definitely, definitely, all of the above. Um, I wanted to before we get too far along, I want to make sure that people understand that we're going to be talking about a summit today that's coming up just in the next couple of weeks, and this one is called Freelance After 50. Can you tell us a little bit about the summit? And I'm just guessing that it is an outgrowth of the YouTube channel, the newsletter, and the community that's springing up. Can you tell us a little bit about the inspiration for the summit and a little bit more about what people can expect from it?
Mm. Well, I think just going back to that community piece I was talking about, we also recently, the other initiative I didn't tell you about was that we also started a Freelance After 50 Facebook group
Oh,
that
cool.
has been rapidly growing. And the comments that people are making when they introduce themselves is like, I'm so glad that I found a group of people that are just like me, that are moving in the same direction. And so the summit is really an opportunity for those of you, over 50 to sort of join with other people that are maybe on the same journey and the same sort of demographic, maybe going through midlife career transition, and to be able to align yourself and then to connect with speakers. All of our speakers are, I think all of them actually are over 50. I think they actually are. And
I
they
am.
understand your demographic. Yes, I am as well. They understand, where you're coming from, but they also serve your audience in different capacities. So you get an opportunity to hear different perspectives of people that understand what it means to freelance and start a business after 50. And so the event is happening on in April 15th to the 17th. So it's a 3-day event. Again, it's designed for all of you to explore the idea of starting a freelance career. And certainly the speakers are going to talk about things like figuring out your freelance path or your niche and discovering what type of side hustle you might want to consider. And then some steps to actually starting your freelance business. And we have other speakers coming in to talk about how do you get that first client? Because getting that first client is a huge win for our freelancers. So what are the steps that would best get you there? And then we have another whole section on lifestyle, where how do you carve out a freelance lifestyle that fits your current needs, whether you have health issues, whether you want to travel, whether you have grandchildren, or you have you're caring for a sick family member, how you can carve your lifestyle or your business around the life that you're trying to create. And so we've got speakers coming in speaking about their personal experience and how the freelance lifestyle has really created incredible freedom for them. So lots of awesome speakers over the 3 days. I think there's 15 in total.
That's awesome. Now, in addition to that, you're going to have panels all 3 days that will feature some of the speakers as well. And you also have
Mhm.
some of your students coming in to share some of their stories as well.
Mhm.
That's a lot for 3 days. That's amazing,
it
actually.
it is. It is. Yeah, I'm excited actually for you to hear the success stories of some of our students that are over 50. That I think all the ones that we're interviewing actually started after 50. So it
Wow.
was a very much a midlife career transition and really incredible success that they've had. And in those interviews, they share exactly what they did. They were starting at ground zero and sort of the things that they did that actually led them to having the business that they have today. So very excited to have them a part of it as well as our speakers and a whole bunch of other goodies as well.
I'm curious if someone came to you and said, I love what you're saying, Craig, but um, being an entrepreneur is not something that I ever wanted to do. And in addition to that, it terrifies me. How would you react to a person who brought that to you?
Well, I would say I have been right in your shoes. I know that's cliche, but in 2008, I was, coming out of a different career, starting a business from scratch, and it was like I built my entrepreneurial chops in baby steps.
Yeah,
It was like step after step after step. I didn't become a successful entrepreneur overnight, as the story goes. It was like a progressive series of steps. I think it's the book Atomic Habits talks about, it's these small steps, these small habits that you build that lead to big results. And at the time, they just seem small, but over the cumulative effect is that you end up achieving really great things, and that's really a part of our story. And so I think it's just baby steps. And also as a freelancer, uh, it's not like you're setting up a physical shop and
yeah,
and starting a traditional business. You are starting by maybe setting up your LinkedIn profile and starting to build a profile of the kind of person you are and the services you offer, and then starting to reach out to your network of people that know you already and think you're already great. And out of that, you may start to land one client. And you're
yeah.
not feeling very entrepreneurial yet, but you are a freelancer with one client. And then you add two, and then you start to build out your systems a bit, and you create your website, and suddenly you're on Instagram because that's where your audience is hanging out. And you're like, I can't believe how I became an entrepreneur. It was just like these series of progressive steps,
Yeah.
and now you're this confident freelancer that is doing great things. And so it's progressive. It's step by step.
Well, for me, it was accidental.
That could be another way as well.
Worse accidents, but it kind of unfolded very, very similarly to what you mentioned.
Yeah.
It's like I started just showing up and helping people do things.
Hmm.
And then before too long, it's like they started telling people that I did those things. And
Hmm.
then all of a sudden, I started to have this business that I never set out to start. But it
Hmm.
was just that I could do something. It was like I could do something helpful for a person, and they were willing to pay me for it. How cool was
Hmm.
that? So I've lived my life much that way, but other people live with much more intention and deliberation than I did. I'm just happy that I landed on my feet. Um, Tell us a little bit about you've got 15 speakers, you've got panels, you've got your students coming in to talk. Tell us a little bit about the logistics of this event. How will people access it? What are the levels of joining, etc.?
Yeah. Yeah. Great question. So, like I said, it runs from April 15th to the 17th. And so basically how it works is we will release five speaker, if we want to call them episodes or sessions each day at specific times. So you'll see on the schedule 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, and those will stay up for the entire day. So if you can't make it at that particular time, you could watch it at 11 at night. And then we'll do the same thing in day two and the same thing in day three. So you'll have a chance as a free member to consume all the content kind of at your own pace for that given day.
Okay.
Now, if you decide that you want to access all of this content and you'd like to re-review it or you'd like to watch it at a later date, then we do have an all access pass that you can tap into that will give you all the recordings for as long as you want. Plus, you're going to get a whole bunch of speaker bonuses. So people like Franklin and all our other speakers are providing, workbooks and guides and courses that are all designed to help you grow your freelance business. And on top of that, you also get a 30-day trial to our whole university. That's a part of that all access pass. So that's for those people that obviously want all that, but also want to watch it fully at their own pace. And so that is our all access pass as well.
So just to make sure, the free level includes the access during the summit itself, and then for 24 hours following, or is it going to be for longer than that?
Yeah, so each day has its own sessions, and you'll get access to all of those sessions for that given day. And then it kind of stops at that point, and then we begin day two and then day three. And so basically, it's kind of a 24-hour cycle for what the free people will get access to.
And I know that some of the speakers have offered some premiums for the free members as well, so
Mhm.
that it's not just the access to the speakers. It is going to be some freebies and some other things,
Mhm.
some other incentives that you might want to look into. And
Mhm.
then at the advanced level, what's the price point for that?
So if you come in right away at the early bird, it's $67. And then if you decide not at that point, and then it goes up to 97 and beyond after that. But we do have an
Okay.
early bird of $67 that is incredible value because you get access to the university, you get access to the recordings, all the bonuses. And so it's a certainly an affordable way to get started with your freelance business.
What's the deadline for the early bird?
The early bird is kind of on that day. We have sort of a
Okay.
once you get to the page, you can access that rate. And if you decide it's not for you and you want to sign up later, then it will go up from there.
Very good. All kinds of really good value here. And in addition to that, if you haven't been introduced to the Freelance University platform and community, this will be a really good time for you to become acquainted with that.
Mhm.
Craig, talk to us a little bit about um, for the folks that are just starting to think about that transition from, maybe they've gone through an employment change in the last year, or maybe
Yes.
maybe they're just fed up and ready. It might be that they're approaching a level of burnout that's just no longer tolerable, and they want to give freelance a try. Like right
Mm.
now, I know that there's just, the whole thing with people learning how to use AI is off the charts.
Mhm.
And, is that something that people could look at if they have experience in that area? Is that something that makes sense right now?
hmm It does. And I think, first of all, when we talk about, and this is something we do discuss in the summit, when you're trying to figure out your niche, you do look on your body of work, like in terms of your skills, qualities, strengths, experiences, all that together and say, is there a freelance niche that's in demand right now that I could slide into? So as an example, there's people that have worked in project management in corporate for years, and there's plenty of virtual assistants and freelancers that are doing project management work remotely for clients. And so,
Yeah.
so the transition to that's quite seamless because you've done the work. You may need to learn some of the technology, like you said, some AI tools that are enhancing sort of project management capabilities. But the path of it's kind of the path of least resistance because you're
Okay.
taking your body of work and you're going into an area of demand. Others, may have done something different, but they've always loved or been passionate about writing. Writing is still, regardless of what's happening in AI, writing is still a big field. But now it's people that understand how to leverage AI tools to improve the writing process, to make themselves more efficient, more accurate, and more effective as a writer. And so it's opened up opportunities for people that have AI skills and have the writing abilities, and bringing those two worlds together. Another sort of high demand field as well. And then I think, if you are interested in technology, there are opportunities to even learn a technology that you can offer as a service. So as an example, email marketing is still a thing. We still
Yeah.
make, as a company, we still make our most money, most revenues from sending out emails. That's our most profitable channel. And so you could go into a platform like ConvertKit, a popular email marketing platform, and learn the ins and outs of it. We have a course on it, but then you can also just get comfortable using it. And then I see people offering a ConvertKit service. They help clients get set up. They provide consulting. They write emails for the clients. They create sequences and automations and all the cool, even AI components that are now, embedded in these tools. And
Yeah.
so we've seen our students do really well, and they're not even coming from a technical background, but they've really learned one technology and they've turned it into a service. And so I see that being a growth opportunity moving forward as well. Every client needs visibility. Every client wants to sell more goods, sell more digital products, e-commerce products, whatever it is. And so understanding search engine optimization in the AI world, that's a course we recently taught. Understanding, like I said, email marketing, and just the different changes going on in social media marketing. That's a huge area.
Yeah.
And businesses have often get overwhelmed managing the marketing machine in their operation. So those are a few.
One of the things that I just keep coming back to is that even within the technology and the different apps and platforms and programs that are
Mhm.
out there, if you specialize in a feature, that may be enough to build a business on. It's
Mhm.
like if you're able to take Descript and chop up long videos into short videos for people that they don't want to do themselves, there's an opportunity there. It's just like
Mhm.
you can take one feature of an app and put it to work for you and actually build opportunity around it. That's something that I learned firsthand this year as I started to do, I was converting longer form workshops and classes into course length videos, the shorter
Wow.
lesson length videos. And
Mhm.
it's like I've had enough business just from that I could put everything else pretty much on hold for the year.
Mhm.
It's been amazing. Tell us a little bit, Craig, about um, you have the long view of the freelance industry at this point,
Mhm.
industries, I should say. There isn't just one.
Right. Yes.
What are the things that have changed the most since you started working with Freelance U and started being a freelancer yourself?
Great question. Well, I think the first one is just the plethora of opportunities.
Yeah.
When we started, and I actually started freelancing in 2002 and then started our business years later, but I was freelancing early on to a couple companies. And back then we had writers, we had some web developers, there was some business development folk, but the broad base, the niches weren't very broad based. There wasn't as many options. Now, like you just said earlier, I mean, you could take a tool like Descript and you could use it for one sole purpose, such as repurposing videos into multiple, clips to post on social media.
Yeah.
That could be almost a full-time service, just using that particular area. So the biggest shift has been just the sheer volume of opportunities, the different types of niches and micro niches you can tap into. Like I said, people are building a business around a software that they've
Yeah.
learned, and now they manage for clients. Um, you know, Even in writing, back in the day, they used to hire a lot of ad copywriters. That was big for writing sales copy. Now you've got newsletter creators, you've got bloggers, you've got ad copywriters, you've got people that write for LinkedIn newsletters,
Yeah.
and so you've got all these. So I think there's way more specializations. I would say the second thing that has changed a lot is just automation. And you and
Yeah.
I talked a bit about that in our session in the summit, is that things are simpler. I mean, technology has become more sophisticated and more automated, which has made our life easier. But
Yeah.
now, as freelancers, we need to learn how to put that automation into action so that we're more productive, our admin time is more efficient, we manage projects better, and we, just sort of interface with our clients in a more efficient way. And so that's changed a lot. It's no longer just using the Excel spreadsheet and some antiquated payment system to run our freelancing business. Now we have client management systems like Honeybook and platforms that are fairly intuitive and fairly automated. I had
Yeah.
one freelancer that I hired recently, and she had automated all these emails so that when I had finished the project, it triggered an email to make the first payment. And then we finished the next part of the project, and then she sent a survey out to me. It was yes, it was a lot of emails, but I was amazed at how she had automated the workflow of our client relationship. So more opportunities, more automation overall, as a whole. And I think more interest. Back then when I was in 2002, people thought it was weird that I worked in my basement. They thought, they didn't even know what to think of what was going on. It was strange to work from home. It was strange to work online. I mean, Google had only been around for 4 years. And then fast forward to today, people are comfortable working remotely. They love the idea of traveling to Portugal for a month and having really great internet and really great coffee and a really great weather, and doing maybe their greatest work.
Yeah.
And so I think just the flexibility and freedom that the industry provides now, and this in this remote work world is pretty huge. Even though, yes, I hear people are being called back to work, but I could tell you it's not the freelancers. The freelancers are still enjoying the flexibility of working remotely.
And they're still in high demand.
Mhm.
Let's look ahead 5 years. It's hard to do right now, but
Yes.
looking ahead 5 years, if you were in charge, what would you see happening for freelancers 5 years from now?
Well, I think, we've we mentioned the word AI, artificial intelligence, a little bit, but AI is going to become an incredible asset, is an incredible asset, and will continue to evolve in ways that we probably can't even get our heads around, what it will look like. AI really, it's stormed onto the scene a couple of years ago, really,
Yeah,
with OpenAI and ChatGPT, the first iteration, and now it's like a gold rush, the AI gold rush. There's all these apps and tools and companies that are being funded in Silicon Valley for their AI applications. And so I think it's being able to stay, you're never going to stay ahead of the AI curve, but as long as you could be running alongside it, where you're like, I'm learning as I go because I want to leverage these AI tools so that I continue to stay in demand. Because at the end of the day, at least as it stands now, AI only works when it's prompted by a human, and it
yeah,
requires a human to utilize it. AI tools as it stands now, aren't creative beings, that come up with unique and original thoughts. They only draw from what they know or what has been pumped into them or what has been prompted for them to do. And so I think definitely continuing to learn. And I think that's why places like our university are so important, is because we've always told our students this is like ongoing professional development. Yes, come to learn to set up your business, but take our monthly workshops. We release new courses, new technology courses every single month. And so stay on top of it so that you don't feel like in a matter of 2 or 3 or 4 months you're getting behind. And so I think continual learning is going to be, an absolute essential thing to do.
let's go back to the summit and just talk a little bit about for people who are interested in the summit and checking it out, what's their next step?
Yeah, so you can definitely sign up at our website and or through a link that Franklin's going to provide, and that will direct you to sign up for free. So if you decide, hey, I have availability on those 3 days between April 15th to 17th, and I'm just going to consume as much as I can, attend the live panels, then definitely grab your free pass. And if you decide you love the material and you want to stick around or you want to be able to re-review it at a later date, definitely check out our all access pass as well.
I'm delighted to be a speaker for the summit, and I'm curious, Craig, just kind of thinking over the speakers that you've talked with. What are some of the highlights that you're really excited for people to hear?
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. I spoke to one fellow that was talking about how to become a digital nomad after 50,
Yeah,
basically take your work abroad. And he had a really interesting perspective. And he shared that, people aren't just heading abroad because they want the laptop lifestyle and they want to be on a beach somewhere. They're actually doing it because it's making financial sense for their future, that they're going to, let's say, places like South America where the economy is more affordable. Their money goes a longer way. They even are able to accumulate more savings. Even the Gen Xers, who have the least amount of savings of all the, compared to the boomers, they're able to, provide for their future a little bit more. So that I loved his perspective on digital nomad as almost a necessity as well as a lifestyle. That was really interesting. The
what's
other,
his name?
Brian Clark,
Brian Clark. Okay.
yeah, wrote a book called Longevity Gains. It has a great newsletter called Further, and you'll learn more about him. Richard Eisenberg, who was the managing editor of a number of popular magazines, including Next Avenue,
Hmm.
which is specifically for the 50 plus audience. He spoke on the meaningful path to unretirement and this whole concept of how people have thought of their retirement in a certain way and maybe were conditioned to think of this retiring at 65. And Richard is definitely beyond 65 and still enjoying a thriving career. And so talked about how he created this lifestyle around the work he's passionate about, which still allows him to spend lots of times with his kids and grandkids and travel with his wife, but he still gets to do the work he loves. And so Loved what he had to share, and yeah, so many other great speakers. You're really gonna get a lot out of this summit.
It's going to be great. I'm very excited about it. Craig, anything else that you'd like to mention about Freelance University before we finish up?
No, again, I like I said, it's become a place for people over 50 that are asking themselves, what is next?
Yeah.
And you can come to us without it all figured out. In fact, that's the best place to come, with this blank slate where you're like, I'm going to come into this sort of learning playground, and I'm going to see all these different freelance niches that I can train up in. And in that, I may find my golden nugget, where I find that path, that place, that body of work that I am meant to do right now. And so I love the work, because I love seeing people pivot to a career that maybe they were doing something they were tired of, or they got burnt out from, or they didn't enjoy anymore,
Yeah.
and seeing this transformation to doing work that they love, and that's kind of built on their terms, and working with the clients that they want to work with. So it's I love to see the freedom that people embrace in the freelance lifestyle.
So cool. Well, Craig, it's always a pleasure to talk with you, and I always
Likewise.
wish you and Kelly the best of all good things. And I'm delighted about the summit, and I'm encouraging people now to go ahead and click the link. Even if you have doubts, especially if you have doubts, click the link.
Yes.
You may
Absolutely.
find that this is doable, and it's doable by you. And again, Freelance University is where you can find all the other things that Craig has been talking about. Definitely check out the YouTube channel, Freelance After 50, and also look into the newsletter, Freelance After 50. And I didn't realize there was a Facebook group. I'm no longer on Facebook,
Hmm.
but for those of you who are, definitely check that out as well.
Hmm.
Craig, this has been fun. I really appreciate your time.
Hmm. Yeah, I appreciate your time as well.
I will see you on April 15th.
Looking forward to it.
Excellent. Thank you. So that's what you need to know about the Freelance After 50 Summit. I am one of the speakers who will be featured. My presentation is all about finding the tech tools you need to make your freelance business easier and learning how to use them. I'll be talking a little bit about how people are using AI to streamline everything from marketing to customer service. I will also be offering a bunch of free stuff for people who attend. I'll be on the schedule on April 16th. If you haven't already, use the affiliate link below to get enrolled now, and I will see you at the summit. Thanks again for listening.